south as he puts his team together. And joining us from Boston and New England area, John Sapochetti, Full Press Coverage, fullpresscoverage.com. And you can follow him on Twitter at JohnSap25. He joins us now on the right Twitter guest line. What's going on, John Sapochetti? What's happening?
Good afternoon, fellas. Before we start up, your outstanding producer, Dan, let me know that you gave him the wrong phone number to call me, which just proves my point is why we Italians have never been a superpower. So, we got to find a way to at least get the phone number right going forward. But, the food is great, the women are great, the sports cars are great, the fashion's great, but we just can't get the phone numbers right.
Yeah, what's up with that, Manute?
It's
whose
funny.
number was it?
I was below. It was John Skelton's number.
John Skelton, the former quarterback. Okay.
Skelton. I John on Wednesday, so I superimposed. My bad there, John Sapp.
Oh, man.
No
So
problem.
it's some great storylines here with everything going on with Bill Belichick and going to the ACC and, maybe a little reunion facing Bill O'Brien and Boston College. There's a lot going on here. And how many former Patriot employees do you expect to end up down there?
Quite a few. Mike Lombardi is going to be the general manager. Matt Patricia is going to be involved on the staff. We'll see what happens with Josh McDaniels. This is how Belichick rolls. He brings all the sycophants with him that are going to just kind of go along with what he wants to do. And it didn't work in the final 4 years with New England because he didn't have Tom Brady with him as quarterback. And my first question is, does Tom Brady have any collegiate eligibility left? Give Belichick one more good year and maybe they'd win the national championship together. But, he's going to bring his people along with him, try to build the program the way he likes to. But, look, guys, I am not a huge Bill Belichick fan. I think he's a sensational coach. I always push back to when people say he's the greatest coach in NFL history. That discussion centers around either Paul Brown or Vince Lombardi. When we're talking about Bill Belichick, we're talking about a coach in 11 seasons without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback, has a record of 84-103, 8 losing seasons, 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win. So he depended quite a bit on Tom Brady to be considered one of the great coaches in NFL history.
But can you make a coach or make a case for he created Tom Brady? He was instrumental on Tom Brady's success?
I'm sure he had something to do with it, obviously. And again, people talk about Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. It's not like he was the first pick in the draft and had all this talent. But Tom Brady's a very talented quarterback. It's just that, it took him a longer time to develop. I would give more credit maybe to Josh McDaniels when he was a quarterback coach here in New England, or Charlie Weiss when he was the offensive coordinator. We saw Brady as a pretty self-motivated guy, and then went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl for it. You've got to give Belichick some of that credit. But I just push back when people say the greatest coach in NFL history. I'm like, if you were following the sport, before 2001, there were other great coaches there. He's one of them. I don't leave him out of the conversation. But I go back to being like the cranky old guy and saying Paul Brown and Vince Lombardi, the 2 greatest.
John, one of the caveats that he wanted in his contract, I don't know if he got it or not, is that Steve Belichick, his son, who's now the defensive coordinator with the Commanders, take over for him.
Washington Huskies.
I'm sorry,
Washington Huskies.
I'm sorry, the Huskies. That he take over for him at that particular point in time. Have you heard if those are some of the things that were met in reference to that? Belichick Jr. in reference to his coaching prowess when you watched him or saw him play, or coach?
I think he's got potential to be a really, really good coach. The problem with Steve Belichick, Bill Belichick's son, is his personality makes Bill Belichick's personality look like Chris Rock. I mean, he's really just dry and non-communicative. In fact, when he was a co-defensive coordinator, if that's what you want to call him with the New England Patriots, he could not run the meetings with the defensive players. It was Gerard Mayo who would run the defensive meetings because Mayo is a personable guy, great personality. I think he's going to be a fine coach in the NFL once they get him some talent in New England. But he's a good defensive mind, Steve Belichick, and I think he could move into become the defensive coordinator at the University of North Carolina. I don't know if his ceiling is as a head coach. We've seen many of these guys who are great coordinators who just weren't good head coaches. Look at Steve Spagnuolo, who's one of the best defensive minds of the modern era in the NFL, a great defensive coach, was not a good head coach. I mean, sometimes the Peter principle does apply to even football coaches.
And, you talked about Mike Lombardi going to be the general manager overseer there at North Carolina. As an organization, as far as semantics and guys getting in place, the contracts, all the above, How do you think that's going to transcend, and how do you see it transcending from the pros to college football?
Well, college football is becoming more like the NFL, right? You're now starting to pay for players. Players after 1 year will transfer. It's completely different than it was even 10, 15 years ago. And that's why one of the reasons Nick Saban just kind of threw up his arms and said, I'm done. It's not the fact that he's actually older than Bill Belichick. But I think that Lombardi is an interesting choice. He's kind of always ridden the coattails of like Al Davis or Bill Walsh or Bill Belichick. I mean, he is the guy who did draft Jamarcus Russell first overall in 2007. Maybe the worst pick in NFL draft history. But he is a shield for Bill Belichick. We see that all season long. He goes on a podcast with Bill Belichick. He goes on with Pat McAfee a different day than Bill Belichick. And he constantly, pumps up Bill Belichick and tries to destroy every other team in the NFL, saying, they don't know what they're doing if they're not looking at the hiring Bill Belichick. It's pretty apparent, guys, that no one in the NFL wanted to hire Bill Belichick. Going to be 73 in April, 29-39 in his final 4 years with New England without Tom Brady. And he's a prickly sort, right? I mean, I don't think owners want to pay someone $20 million a year and then get treated like the thumb on the bottom of a shoe, the way he oftentimes treated Robert Kraft. I mean, that doesn't sell well with billionaires, to say the least.
Do you see this, John, as North Carolina's trying to make a similar splash like Colorado did when they brought in Deion Sanders, despite the fact Deion had 2 years of college coaching at Jackson State, and he went in and flipped that in just 2 seasons. North Carolina has not won an ACC championship in football since 1980. Was this their way of trying to, I guess, mirror what Deion Sanders did at Colorado?
They'd probably be better off bringing Julius Peppers in as the head coach. I mean, because the thing is, I don't know a lot of 18-year-olds that are going to be enamored with Bill Belichick. I mean, he hasn't had a playoff win since those 18-year-olds were 12. And I don't really consider Belichick really hip and cool. Deion
3.
Consider hip and cool. And he also was able to bring his son, who's going to be a high first-round pick as a quarterback, and Travis Hunter, who I'm praying the Patriots get, whether it's the first, second, or third overall pick. He's just one of the most unique players we've ever seen, and is going to win the Heisman Trophy on Saturday, I believe. Deion is a much better salesman than Bill Belichick. I mean, the kids will be in awestruck of Deion Sanders. With Bill Belichick, they may just kind of look at the grumpy old man. But, yes, you're trying to build a program there. They're putting a lot of money into it. We know that the NIL budget's gone from $4 to $20 million. He's going to be making $10 million a year. That staff he's bringing along with him is going to be well paid. So North Carolina's putting a lot of money into the football program. I wonder if Michael Jordan's involved at some point. I mean, Michael Jordan makes $200 million a year just from Nike alone. He can write a big check to help the football program. Nike can write a big check to help the football program. There's a lot of ways to raise money. It's a glamorous and accomplished school. So I think they can get to the point where they're, a contender for the ACC championship. Maybe one year they sneak into the playoff as the 12th seed, what have you, and then his legacy will grow if he's able to do that in North Carolina. But, yeah, if you go out and you get a big name to be at the forefront of your organization, the thing is Belichick is, more than anything, is a hands-on coach. Deion is more the CEO type who, I think sets the tone for the young men on the football team.
Finishing up with the president of the Bill Belichick fan club, John Sapochetti. Yeah, tell us how you really feel about Coach, John. I mean, that's great. Hey, real quick, we got about a minute here, but the Pats have lost 3 straight coming off a bye week, coming here to Phoenix. Big game for Arizona, not much for the Pats, but what is it that Pats fans would like to see at least the last few games of the season with this team?
Continued growth by Drake May. I think the fan base is quite happy with him. He's got a ton of talent. He's got to clean up some things, turns the ball over a little too much for my liking, needs to continue to work on his mechanics. You guys know better than I. You get these quarterbacks that have the strong arms and are great athletes. Sometimes they forget about mechanics, but he's gotten better at that throughout the season. So you want to see him grow, be competitive. It's kind of a low bar, but you want to see the Patriots be kind of like the Carolina Panthers, a pain in the butt, the way they have been the last month, nearly beating Kansas City and other contending teams. That's what you want to see from the Patriots on Sunday against Arizona, who needs the game. I thought they were in good control to win that division, but they've slipped up the last 3 weeks. And now, Seattle, the Rams, and 49ers are back in it.
A lot of confidence in Coach Mayo. He's going to stick around for a few more years.
I think one more year. What happened, I think, here is because Belichick dominated for 24 years, it was his way or the highway. Oftentimes when you have something like that and you make changes, you go in a completely different direction and everything's been collaborative. Let him be the head coach. Let his personality shine through. I think he's a leader, a very bright guy. Let him be himself and be the coach of the New England Patriots, not constantly collaborating with everybody on every decision.
John, as always, man, thanks for some time. We appreciate you, man. If we don't talk to you before the Christmas season, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas to everybody there in Arizona.
That's John Sapochetti. You follow him on Twitter at JohnAP25, or I should say John Sap25. Full press coverage, fullpresscoverage.com. Always appreciate his time. He is brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state. That's All City Towing. They're hiring all types of jobs. So if you're looking to take your career to the next level, visit them online at allcitytowing.com. All City Towing, where the future is on the move, and your future is as well. Coming up, we need a contestant to face one of the beautiful girls here at Twin Peaks in Scottsdale. Jordy is here. It's our Peaks Picks, which is courtesy of Blue Moon and Coors Light. We'll take the fifth caller at 602-260-9191.